There we go. Okay. I don't know if you guys got anything that I said in the first part. Sorry, this is my first time really trying to do this without doing a shared live stream. So, all right, cool. So yeah, I agreed, Abhishek. I think, well, I don't know. I think the split's going to be awesome news, but in the near term, so many people were against the Twitter deal that it just brought the stock down, and we can see it right now. So we're going to see a gap up on Monday for sure. And looking at gaps, and this is something I talked about. I know I mentioned to many of you that I was going to go over this today. So when it comes to the gaps, um, what you want to look at, and I actually just I Google it. I'll tell you the site I go to here. I just go to Yahoo Finance. And on Yahoo Finance, it'll show you the closing price, the opening price, and the high and the low of the day. So for me, I'll look at the close of the day. And then, so you look at the close of the day, and then you look at the open the next day. And if there's a difference, then that means that there is a gap. So the last gap that we had was July 6th, and we closed at 695.20. And then on July 7th, we opened up at 701.76. Now, over the course of that day on the 7th, we ended up pulling down to 696.63, but we did not officially close that gap. So that gap still does go down to 695.20. Now, obviously, with this Twitter news, that could push things way up. So I have a feeling we're going to have another gap up on Monday. And so since we closed today at 752.90, 752.29, we will end up having a gap down to there as well. So we're going to have two gaps. How's it going, Danny? How's it going, everyone? So yeah, so we're going to have a gap down to 752 most likely on Monday. So what gaps mean is 9 out of 10 times gaps fill. And sometimes I think it's algorithm based, because the algorithms are like, oh, there's a gap that needs to get filled, and it has to get back down there some way, one way or another. And we've seen this before. If you go back all the way to October, there was a giant gap up when we got the Hertz news, and everybody's like, there's no way we're going to go back and fill that gap. We're over $1,200. And sure enough, we ended up filling that gap come January. So it may take a few months to get there, but most likely these gaps do get filled. In the near term, this is going to be amazing. So I think we're going to have a run up. And Mark, I don't know if we'll get to 1,000, but I think we will see a nice run. Gary Black is saying we're going to get to 900, totally possible. And so as far as I'm concerned, thank you so much. So as far as I am concerned, yes, we are going to see the gap up, and we'll probably end up pulling back if we get this massive recession. If we get a recession and the whole entire market ends up pulling back like a lot of people think it's going to, we'll end up filling these gaps. Now, the great news that I've been following all along is when it comes to these gaps, we have been making higher gaps all along the way. So we tracked it all the way down to 620, and currently right now 620 was the bottom. So when we got to 620 at the bottom, we made a gap up from there. We pulled back, we filled the gap, and then we went up and made a bigger gap. And I think the next gap was, 635. I know we had one at 650. I can't remember if there was one in between, but we have continuously made higher gaps. That is a great sign. That means that we're going up. And I know Meet Kevin had mentioned something about how, we're bleeding our way back up. And bleeding our way back up is sort of like what I talked about before when, on our way down, it was just like dead cat bouncing on the way down and it was painful. We might kind of see the opposite on the way up. So we'll just have to pay attention to that as it goes up, because if that's the case, then we may have already hit the bottom at 620. But, Dean is, talking about the recession is here. And so, if the recession is here and going to be severe for years, we may pull down and we might trade sideways for a while. So, there's a lot of different things that could transpire over the next, couple of months. But at the same time, this is why, I just am trying to keep as much cash reserves as possible and have cash flow generation, because that allows you to be agile and go in any direction. So that's just the way I'm playing it. Obviously, you guys need to do your own due diligence and do what's best for you guys. But that's the way I'm doing it. But for the near term, I think Monday is going to look amazing. Next week is going to look good. We've got CPI data coming out on Wednesday. That'll come out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then PPI data, which actually is going to be bigger news. So PPI data, if you look back over the course of this year, PPI data has actually been a leading indicator as to what CPI data was going to give us. So that's why, CPI data, we're expecting an 8.8%. That is just stupid high. So hopefully we can get this in line. Hopefully with oil prices coming down. And actually, let me see where oil prices are today. Where's my oil prices? There we go. And so oil prices today, today they went back up. So this is where we're looking at with the oil prices. If the oil prices can continue to come down, we can get CPI to come down. That won't be reflected until next month's CPI. But the PPI data is what can help give us a leading indication as to what CPI will be in August. So the Fed still doesn't think we're going to be in a recession. Looking at the numbers, gosh darn it, I mean, it certainly looks and feels like we're in a recession. I know at my job, we see a lot less foot traffic coming in, and I've been blowing my numbers out of the water all year long, and we have hit a wall so far in the second half. And I know the second half is only a week old, but usually, at this point, I'm already up 10, 15, 20%, and I'm actually down 20%. Again, it's only a week, but we'll see how things go. And so that's kind of where I'm at when it comes to going forward, is just, just be agile, be as agile as you can be, and for some of you who are long-term investors and you're all in on Tesla, just, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, and I don't have a crystal ball, but, just ride it out. And honestly, when it comes to the crystal ball, so yesterday I was talking to me over in the comments, and he asked you what I thought, and I was like, oh, I think it's going to end at 7:35, and we ended at 7:32. And I made a video for this morning. I actually made it last night. And in the video, I initially had predicted that if we were red, we'd go to 700. And if we were green, we were going to close at 750. And then in the morning, I woke up and 739 popped into my head. So I ended up deleting that part of it. Gosh, I need to learn to just stick with my instincts, and whatever this mouth blurts out, just go with it, because my goodness, 752, I was pretty darn close on that one also. So my crystal ball seems to be working the last couple of days. King, that's a good, I think, because like we had a split or a gap before the previous split, never came down to close it. I think you're right. So I think if we do get, if we don't end up filling this gap before the split, we can most likely say we're good to go and kind of reset the gaps. I really truly don't know when it comes to that in technical analysis, is that if that's true. I haven't been present actually for a gap during a stock split. So we'll all learn together, at least on my end. I'll be able to learn how it's going to trade after this. So let me see. We have a gap. Let me see. Yeah, we have a gap to close up to 865, 870. You're right. So going up, there's gaps up too. So when you're coming with gaps down and gaps up, they both need to get filled. And right now we do have a gap up to 865. I think we actually have some in the thousands also. I'd have to double check that. It's been so long since we've been up there. I haven't followed that at all. But yeah, so closing that gap up to 865, I have a feeling we're going to see that happen next week, because this Twitter news, I mean, just seeing the numbers flying up after hours is insane. And when we open up on Monday morning, I think a lot of people who weren't trading after hours are going to take advantage of it. And that's going to be a big piece of what we see next Monday. Let me see here. Let me go through your comments quick. Thank you guys for all being on here. This is awesome. I love this. Kevin, I was thinking the same thing. And I was talking with somebody else earlier about the distraction. And just knowing myself, and I'm not going to compare myself to Elon in any manner, but I'm very all over the place. And I seem to do better when I kind of have little distractions here and there. Now, granted, buying a whole nother company for $44 billion isn't just a little distraction, but his brain works that way where, maybe it helps him focus on other things by having these things going on the side. Because for me, when I'm focusing on something and I'm focusing right on it, I can never figure out and solve problems as well as I can when I'm like, all right, well, let me go work on this other project. And all of a sudden something comes into my mind to solve this other problem that I was working on initially. So maybe that's just the way his brain works. And he just does it on a massive level like this. I don't know. I think the distraction was ended up being a bigger distraction for investors than for Elon himself. Either way, sounds like it's over. I don't know if he's actually going to be done with this. Farzad seems like he thinks it's going to be just more of a bargaining chip. So for him, it's kind of like, Elon's backing out of the deal and Twitter's going to come back and try to maybe do a counter offer and say, hey, you know what? We do want to make this go through. Let's drop the price and work something out. We'll see what happens. Personally, I think what Elon was trying to do is a very good thing. I truly do want to see this. I like his idea of coming out and having an open forum that everybody can feel comfortable voicing their opinion on with true free speech. So maybe he'll create his own platform. I don't know. I know he was very big on, what's the one he was talking about over in China? I can't remember what the name of it was over there, but it sounds like that was an awesome platform, and he really, really likes that. So maybe he'll create his own like that. That would be really nice to see. But either way, I think it's a good idea. I don't know how much of a distraction it actually was. Elon himself says he thinks about Tesla 24/7. How much of that's true, I don't know. But either way, right, as far as we're concerned right now, we're good to go. No Twitter deal for the moment. Yeah, Danny, so from what I have been hearing, and I think he's not going to end up paying the billion. I think what is going to end up happening is this is going to go to court, and I believe it was Delaware where it's going to be going to court. And going to court in Delaware, they're going to discuss this. And basically, Elon's beef about this all is they lied. He thought that he was making a deal and saying, I am purchasing, this company based on all of these facts, yet all of these facts aren't true. And that's basically them misleading him and falsifying information, which then gives him legal right to back out of it without having to pay that $1 billion. So this is going to end up going to court and most likely take a few years to figure out, just like the whole entire issues with him being on Twitter in the first place back in 2018. Back in 2018, we're still hearing about those court cases going on with Twitter. So I have no doubt 2025, 2026, when we finally get the Robovan coming out, we're going to get all the information about this Twitter deal closing up and stuff and all the legalities behind it. So, all I know is that let's get back to Tesla. Let's focus on these things and let's see the stock price go back up. I still think we are going to be trapped in a range. We're going to be range bound when it comes to the macro environment. So whatever happens with Tesla, so with Twitter, I think we're going to see the bump up because I have a feeling the Twitter deal was kind of suppressing the stock by 10, maybe 15% based on where it should have been. So now that overhang is gone, we've already seen that bump up. So we'll see a bump up again. And maybe we actually saw a bit of a run this week in the stock because some people knew that this was coming. Who knows? But either way, I think we're going to bump up 10 to 15% from probably that 650 level. We'll come up and we'll kind of hit in that range and be range bound for a while. And then when we get to Q2 earnings, that's going to change things too. And I have two varying thoughts when it comes to Q2 earnings. On one thought, I have a lot of people understand, the headwinds that they were facing when it came to production and deliveries. And that's why we didn't see a huge move when it came to the stock price on Monday when we had the information come out for the deliveries. But when you put in the numbers and let's say you factor in, and I was guessing about 53,500 for average vehicle price, you put in all that, the $500 million Bitcoin impairment, and you factor all that down with their finances, you're going to get your EPS. My EPS right now is at $1.75. So that's definitely lower than Q1 based on all of this information. And so when we're looking at it, does the market take a look at Tesla's earnings and understand what happened and kind of, let's say, forgive them and move forward looking into Q3 and Q4? Or are the algorithms going to immediately take that EPS and factor the stock price based on the EPS and say, well, EPS came down, their PE ratio should be here. And because we're in a PE compression environment, it's going to bring that down because right now the PE is pushing 100 again. Actually, I got to double check. We're probably over 100 with the run that we had today. So if we're over 100 and the PE based on the algorithm should be like around 60 or 65, maybe we see that compress back down with lower earnings. Truly don't know. Obviously, this is why I hate playing earnings. People who are like, oh, I'm going to buy into earnings. I'm like, dude, good luck, because I have seen in my experience from watching earnings, stocks can blow numbers out of the water. They can give great guidance and then they tank. And then I can see stocks that completely suck and miss all of their numbers and then explode up. And then I can see stocks crashing afterwards with the kind of mediocre numbers. And then the media is like trying to justify it and saying, oh, I think this is the reason why. And they like nitpick and pinpoint specific little information in their earnings reports, just to justify what's happening. Dude, we have 69 viewers right now. That's awesome. But so for me, that's why I don't play earnings. I don't. I have learned for myself that that just long-term investing is a way better way for me to go emotionally, because I just need to follow fundamentals, and long-term investing has to do with fundamentals. So it's just way easier to do that, and you just track it as, hey, if the fundamentals are still doing well, then cool. I'm going to keep on putting money in. And for Tesla, actually, this has been working out really well for me this week too, because the last 2 days I've increased my daily ads for Tesla, and I did so because I had hit yeah, Steve, number 69. So in the last 2 days, I bumped it up because I've been hitting solid amounts. So I put fractionally into several stocks. And lately I've decided, once I hit a full number in a stock, I'm going to convert that over to my TD Ameritrade account where it's all full shares. And then I'm going to take that money and then start putting it into Tesla, because I'm still trying to get myself to 69% Tesla. And because of where the market's at, just kind of trading sideways, I'm stuck. And so for right now, that's where I think I'm at 62% in Tesla right now. So I'm going to be majority cash and Tesla. So cash, I'm trying to get to 10%. Tesla, I'm getting to 69%. So I'm going to start whittling down on the amount of money I'm putting into these other stocks. So right now I'm still I have Google I've topped at. And for me, I did it where I wanted to have, I think I'm going to have one or two shares. I'm not sure how many I'm going to have when Google splits, and Google is splitting on the 15th, for anybody who's curious. So Google's splitting on the 15th, so I'm capped out there. AMD, I'm capped out at the most perfect time. So I capped out, ended up switching over, and I bought it at 72 and change, and the stock took off right after I bought. So sometimes short term I do well, but who knows what's going to happen in the future. And so then I'm just keep on adding this money to Tesla, because goodness, I cannot see any other stock that's going to have the potential that Tesla does in the future. I just don't. And let me know in the comments here, guys, what do you think? And I've had a lot of you guys asking about when energy is going to take off. And I know solar, at least as far as the solar roofs go, kind of disappointing. But when it comes to the solar mega packs, like we just saw, like I think in Nevada, they were talking about 300 mega packs that were sitting over there, and they are just pumping these out like crazy. Mega packs, power walls, that I think is going to be the huge game changer. And looking at this as like the silent killer that's going to come in the future. As a lot of people are complaining about EVs not being as clean as ICE vehicles because they're running on a dirty grid. Well, it's awesome. Let's clean up the grid. And Tesla pumping out all these mega packs means that when we get to that point where we're 40 and 50% EVs in the automotive market, well, we have a lot more draw on this dirty grid that we've got. Well, now people are going to start saying, well, let's start cleaning up the grid. Hey, guess who already has a solid, huge foundation of mega packs out there? Tesla does. And I think that's going to be the point where we start to see that S curve really start taking off, probably 2026 and 2027. Let me see. I've been rambling on here. I'm going to go through your comments. Hold on a second. Twitter. Yeah, going back to Twitter, Mike, you are right. I think if he didn't touch it, it would have been a win. But hey, you know what? I like to look at the silver lining of everything. And if Elon didn't touch Twitter, we would have never had these awesome buying prices down to 620. So, I mean, who knows what the future is going to bring? Maybe we get this massive recession and the entire market crashes. But in the meantime, for what we know now, that gave us some awesome buying time in the 600. So I'm totally on board with Elon doing, what he was doing to get us those prices. Nice, Dean. Yeah, actually, I have one of my friends. He's my buddy who has Tony. He has two, just bought a Tesla for his wife as well. So they've got a couple of Teslas, and they've got Tesla solar roof there as well. I guess here in Connecticut, we've got Eversource, and they're just huge pains in the butt trying to get it, because I guess they were they had all the permits required for the first one, but getting a second one, they couldn't just add on. So they have to get a whole second set of permits all set up to get a second solar panel put on. And he doesn't have a solar roof, he just has the solar panels. But it's a huge pain in the butt trying to get it switched over. And he wanted a power wall, but that was going to be all part of the second system put in. So he's still working on it, but it's a huge pain. But I know when I buy my house, that's going to be one of the first things I look at is getting solar panels and power walls put in because I want to have them for my tenants. And for my tenants, I want to be able to provide this. And I want to try to be as good of a landlord as I can be because I don't want to be that slumlord. So I want to be able to provide them with as much as I can. And if I can provide them with solar power, and then I mean, think about it as a tenant, if you know that you have power backup that you don't have to pay for because it's all already built into the house. I mean, that's ideal. And I really want to try to provide that for my tenants. Let me see. Yeah, Cybertruck sold to 2027. And of course, obviously this is going to be, based on, the reservations that they have right now. And, when they say that they're sold out till 2027, that tells me that they already have production numbers in mind for how quickly they're going to ramp. So if they're saying that they have 1.5 million reservations that are already out there and they're going to start ramping production middle of next year, then you're looking at 1.5 million between 2023, 4, 5, 6, 27, 4 years. That means that they're looking to be putting out probably 400,000 vehicles per year. So obviously, if they ramp, maybe they're going to hit that 500 to 600,000 vehicle production by 2027. So we'll probably see, I'm guessing, 20 to 30,000 Cybertrucks next year, maybe like 100 to 150 in 2024, and then really cooking the ramp up after that. So I'm still hoping to get mine in 2025. I don't know, maybe 2026. I'm hoping that I can get it before the van comes out because I was planning on traveling around the Cybertruck, but the Cyber van would totally be a lot better if I can actually live out of that. I don't know, lots of awesome, exciting decisions I have to make in the future. I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty excited about that. Let me see what else we got here. So what else was in the news today? So PPI, yeah. So the China deliveries were awesome. Those are awesome numbers. And looking at production that we've got going on, going in the future. So we've got the Tesla Shanghai was shut down for the 4 days, back up and running. I don't know specifics on how they're doing it because I heard that they're going to be shutting down the 3 line and then they're going to shut down the Y line. So they're going to have one line running at all times for July. It's just a matter of how long they're going to be down. Looks like Monday Berlin is going to be shutting down for the next 2 weeks. But again, both of these are great things. And then I always look at the headlines, and I've talked about it many a time. Is like you look at these headlines that are out there, and it depends on who's writing the articles. And if somebody wants to bash it, be like, "Oh, Tesla's shutting down their factories again," it's like, well, yeah, they're shutting down their factories so that they can produce more vehicles in the future. That's a smart move. But that's why you got to read through articles. And actually, reading through some of these articles, they never even get into it. They don't even tell the entire total truth. Drives me nuts. So it is what it is. We know, and that's what I love about being so deep in as a Tesla investor. Following everybody on Twitter and YouTube, and you guys provide a lot of great information too. When you have the real truth as to what's going on, this is why it makes a lot of good sense to invest in Tesla long term. And I love even the bearish comments that I get because, you can't just be floating, a massive ego and thinking the stock's going to go to the moon all the time. That's not realistic. You need to pay attention to the headwinds. But, looking at how that's just production is their focus, and they're going to be pumping out all these vehicles, looking at a Tesla bot. If you guys don't follow a Tesla bot on Twitter or in our Discord chat, definitely follow him there because it's very much like Troy Tesla. Now, Troy Tesla, we know, is right now the #1 guy when it comes to predicting and forecasting deliveries and production. But a Tesla bot has actually been doing just as well, just a lot less followers and a lot less notoriety. So, he's been within 1% accuracy as well. So, I've put a link actually to his Twitter in the descriptions of all of my videos. So if you want to follow him over there, it's awesome. So, just seeing where we're going in the future for production, very exciting. Let me see. Yeah, Kevin. It's crazy, but just like Elon had said before when it came to 2018, so many people were bashing Tesla and their sales went up. And I'm like, so, again, going back to no news, no media is bad media. It's truly what it is. I mean, think about the fact that we have like Ford putting out commercials mentioning Tesla. That's putting Tesla in people's faces. One of the things that yeah, I agree, Dean. I hope they never have to buy commercials. I don't know if they will ever have to, because if people keep on putting their name out in people's faces, then they're known. It's one of those things where, I go back years and years ago when, LA was having a crazy amount of, high speed chases that are going on. And it just seemed like the more they put them out there, the more people were doing high speed chases. And so finally the news is like, all right, well, we need to stop putting these on the news because it's encouraging more people to go out there and do it. It's very much the same thing. It's like if these legacy automotive makers really didn't want people to go out and buy Teslas, they shouldn't be talking about them. They should just keep it silent and pretend like Tesla doesn't exist. Very much like our government likes to do. Pretend like Tesla doesn't exist. That's the best way to, keep them off of people's radars. But they're not doing it. They keep on putting Tesla out there. So hey, that's fine by me. Exactly, Logan. And they keep on pumping out everything they sold. Now, Gary Black brings up a great point, and I love Gary Black because, he brings up a lot of he's a Tesla bull, as many of you might know. He's a Tesla bull, but he's pretty realistic. He definitely looks at things that could be negative for Tesla and points them out. And one of the things he points out is eventually Tesla will probably get to a point where demand does hit a ceiling. And so if this demand does hit a ceiling, then they're going to have to do something. Now, my thoughts on this are if the demand hits a ceiling, it's probably going to be because of the 3 and the Y maybe being too expensive and they need something less expensive. So at that point, they either come out with a compact car or they're going to be able to bring down the prices of the 3 and the Y. Because don't forget, costs of these supplies are super high right now, and they will end up coming down. Prices of materials will come down. We've already seen commodity prices start to trickle down. So as the commodity prices are coming down, that means that the price of vehicles will also be able to come down. Now, Tesla has to be very careful about this because if they start to bring the prices of the vehicles down too much too fast, they'll kill demand entirely because people are going to stop putting any orders in and wait till that price hits the bottom. So they're going to have to play with that very carefully. But if they're starting to lose demand because other automotive makers have less expensive vehicles, even if those vehicles aren't as good as a Tesla, a lot of people look at just strictly price and they'll be like, I just want the lowest price EV. Then Tesla might have to bring prices down. And so if that's the case and Tesla ends up bringing the prices down for the 3 and the Y, don't forget, Tesla has a massive 30% cushion that they can throw and swing that price down a little bit. Whereas Legacy Auto and even most of the startups are not making any money whatsoever on their vehicles. So if Tesla comes down and puts pressure on the prices for other legacy automotive makers and the startups, there's nothing they can do. What are they going to do? Sell cars for less and sell them for, below cost? Because sure, they can do that and sell them below cost. But if they're not producing enough and they're not making any money, that just means they're going to end up going bankrupt. And then Tesla can scoop up all of that demand entirely. So, that's exactly where they're going to be going. There's the man. Hey, I was just shouting you out in here talking about your predictions. So yes, this is the man right here on screen. He's the one with all of his forecasts for production and delivery. So definitely check him out. Great numbers that he puts up. Him, maybe OJ. Yeah, if he does it in a Cybertruck, he will definitely get a lot of recognition. Actually, that'd be awesome advertising for Tesla right there. A Cybertruck in a high-speed chase. Well, actually, I don't even know if that was a high-speed chase. I think that was a low-speed, just slow and boring chase. That was wild. I wonder if Kato is still around too to ride with him. Let me see. What else did we have in the news today? Jobs report. So the jobs report, and this is actually something I was talking with my dad about when it comes to the jobs report. So the jobs report coming in hot. So definitely more job openings than expected. And I wasn't sure how the market was going to react. A lot of people thought the market was going to sell off, and we kind of saw mixed reactions to it today. But with the jobs report being so high, we'll probably get, if if CPI is going to come in high, I know we're going to get high inflation next week either way. So getting that high inflation next week is almost going to guarantee that the Fed is going to be doing a 75 basis point hike in the end of July for the FOMC meeting. If that's the case, having the FOMC meeting put a higher interest rate up could in turn force commodity and oil prices to continue to come down, because having higher interest rates just force them to come down because they're going to have to. They have no choice because interest rates are going higher. So that might actually lead to a good thing and bring down the inflation. And I know the Fed said that they can't really control oil and commodity prices, but if they continue to push up interest rates like they are, they might actually be able to do that. We'll see how it plays out. But that might actually be a good thing going with a 75 basis point hike with the second FOMC meeting coming at the end of July. Logan, are you serious? Is his Bronco really in a museum? Why is that in a museum? Oh, of course, everything's in a museum these days. When I was over in Iceland, I did not go to it, but there's a penis museum for anybody who is interested. If you want to go to Iceland and check it out over there. But ironically, I happened to be eating dinner after my 24-hour race, and these four girls came in all worked up about the museum that they had just gone to. It was definitely an interesting conversation. You know what? That's a tough call. I think we're going to see a lot of movement on Monday for sure, with the stock going up, and then going into Wednesday and Thursday. And it definitely sounds like many people are going to be focusing more on the PPI. So I think we're definitely going to see some questionable stock market action. I don't know when it's going to start. I don't know if it's going to start Tuesday afternoon. So Monday, Tuesday should be good. And then we'll probably see that uncertainty start kicking in late Tuesday, maybe early Wednesday. But again, I don't know how the market's going to react. I think everybody at this point right now just wants to see inflation coming down. So if we start to see the inflation coming down, then that'll be a good sign, and we might see a run. But then we're also expecting an earnings recession coming. So still a lot of unknowns, but either way, I think for anybody who does swing or it plays in their IRA, I think Monday and Tuesday would be a good opportunity to potentially sell. Now, again, it's kind of a coin flip with uncertainty going into the CPI and PPI data, where, you know what, if you decide, hey, maybe we hit 850 on Tuesday, do you sell or not? I know I own shares at 700 in my IRA. I will probably, knowing that we have the gap down to 695, knowing that we have a gap now going to be down to 750 as well. If we end up hitting 850, I will probably sell my lowest priced share just to get those profits, and then wait. And if we pull back, I will end up buying in at that lower price. So if you do dip below 700, I'll buy back in again at that point. Yeah, Kathy sees deflation coming, and honestly, I think the same thing. I was thinking we were going to see it in July. She thinks that we're going to be seeing it in September. I think sometime around that same area we will end up seeing it. I'm seeing exactly what she is saying. I am seeing at my job. I am not in control of purchasing anymore. It is done by we have buyers in our company, and then we have our owner who kind of dictates a little bit here and there what's going on, but we are in the same boat. I have a ton more inventory than I have ever had. And as I mentioned before, our sales have hit a wall. So this is what's going to end up happening. And we are going to have, this wall of sales getting hit, ton of inventory, and then they're going to have no choice but to bring down prices of their products in order to sell and move them. That in turn is going to cause that deflation. So, and then you look at technology, and technology itself is already deflationary, and we're seeing a lot of that happening, especially when you're looking at like Tesla and other tech companies. So I see it. I definitely see the deflation coming. And I think, the Fed had mentioned it themselves that it could all of a sudden just fall off a cliff. So we might go from, let's say we hit 8.8% inflation next week. Maybe we end up dropping off a cliff in September and come down to like 6%. That could end up happening. And if that happens, I think that's why I think timing wise, if it happens in September, then happening in September, because, oh, sorry, I think Kathy says it's going to happen in July. I think it's September. So if it happens in September, then we will end up seeing, hey, by the way, we've got the elections coming on. We need to make ourselves look good for the elections. Let's kind of get these numbers down, and it could just magically happen. I don't know. But I definitely think that we will see that coming, and it'll probably come very quick, and that'll end up turning the market around. And then again, at that point, if we do see that massive turnaround, that can be the first sort of U-turn where the Fed is like, all right, we need to put the brakes on. We might not go with a 25 basis point hike. We might go with no rate hikes for a few months and just kind of wait to see where inflation goes as it's coming down so fast. So things to watch and pay attention to. I kind of hope that happens and go from there. And yeah, and stagflation, I don't think we're going to have the stagflation. Looking at it, I mean, we look like we might be getting there, recession and inflation at the same time, but maybe we hit a technical recessions that we see at the end of this month. And then as we get the following data, because don't forget, we get three points of data that come out for when it comes to GDP. So we'll get the initial numbers at the end of this month or beginning of August. And then come the end of October, we'll get the final numbers. So we may end up seeing that inflation come down over the course of the third quarter and then see that final GDP number. So maybe we'll be in that technical recession, but with inflation really coming down significantly. So that may kind of get away from that. Let me see. Yeah, Danny, I'm going to be getting to my 10, no problem. That's going to be simple for me at this point now, and I just keep on adding more. And when we actually do flip over to the split, I'm just going to be adding a ton. And I do think that we're still going to get that post-split sell-off. That's just natural, and we'll know for sure. Like Google's going to have their split, and we'll see what happens with theirs. But after that, I'll be able to buy more, and it'll just be nice to be able to like not have to buy fractionally. And I'll still end up buying fractionally when it comes to after the split, but I can at least like get more solid shares faster. That would be nice. So production for 2023, my production forecast. Ooh, let me see where I'm at. I updated it recently, and I know I need to update it again. And for you guys, I do have a Patreon. I don't put a lot on there. So for those of you who are patrons over there, I truly thank you, because I don't have a lot of time to dedicate to Patreon. So any support I get there, I do put towards this channel, and anything I can to help upgrade things and provide better content for you guys. So I do appreciate the support over there, and I'm trying to get better information, but I do put my production forecasts over there. So Kairav, what is your production forecast for 2023? I'm looking up mine right now. I'm curious what yours is. Factory production. So for 2023, I have them at. There we go. I've got them at 2.43. Yeah, 2.43 million for 2023 right now. And so I think for them hitting, 50% year over year production should not be a problem. Because Kairav, are you really 15? Dude, seriously? That is amazing. Because my kid is 15, and heck, man, if that's the case, I'm totally going to chip in, and we're going to work on you. You keep getting these numbers going, and we're going to work on getting you some shares of Tesla, because you are earning them for sure. That's really awesome, dude. I appreciate that. So yeah, with Tesla going to 50%, they're hitting 1.4 million this year. I don't think is going to be a problem whatsoever. And then that means that next year to hit 50%, they need 2.1 million. And I think that based on the expansions they have coming, all the ramping they have coming, should not be a problem whatsoever to hit 50% year over year production. And then you look at the deliveries, and seeing as they're already sold out through, a good chunk of 2023 is not going to be a problem. And then you look at 2024, and they've got the Cybertruck starting to ramp. That's just even more vehicles getting pumped out. The Robotaxi coming in 2024, that's even more vehicles getting pumped out. And we know that the Robovan is coming. I have no doubt that they're going to have, the compact car that they're going to unveil probably sometime next year. That'll come out in 2024 or maybe early 2025. Who knows? I think that's a tight secret that they are keeping at the moment. And yeah, so I think they're going to be able to see. That's why they said, 50% year over year growth. And I think that is definitely going to happen through at least 2025 without question. Yeah, this week was definitely a good week. And actually, I was looking at the charts, and I know in the past, now obviously in the past we had many bull runs over the last 2 years because we were basically straight up. But Tesla has been known for having 21-day massive runs. So I don't know if we're going to be able to do the same in a bear market, but seeing what we saw this week was definitely awesome. Thanks, Kyrov. Thank you so much. You are amazing. Yeah, 10 million cars, I think is definitely going to be doable. Let me see when my forecast is for when they hit 10 million. 20. Mine is right around 2027 to 2028 is where I have them at 10 million. And um, and I think that, I mean, they might hit it before then. I try to be conservative, and my base numbers are basically what Tesla has put out. And I know many of you who have been following for a while know that my base case for my valuation model is strictly, hey, this is what Tesla has said they're going to do. Well, I'm going to put in my valuation model what Tesla said they're going to do as my base model. Because going all the way back to the beginning, every time Elon has said, this is what we're going to do for production, they've done that for production, and they have exceeded some of those goals. So if I just base my base model on what Elon and Tesla say they're going to do for production, you're most likely going to be accurate. So then the only numbers you have to throw in after that are going to be, what is the average selling price going to be of the vehicles? And you can kind of break down what they are producing and selling by model and what the prices are of those. Gets a little more complicated when you get into sales in other countries because you have to try and do a lot of math. And I don't have time to do all that kind of math. So I just kind of go off of rough prices and do some rough estimations on the average vehicle selling price. And then I come up with margins. And Tesla says they want to have over 30% margins. So I put in 30% margins. And guess what? They've hit 30% margins. So that's where I come up with my top line numbers for everything. And then you go to expenses, and they said they're having about $5 to $7 billion in capex expenses for the next couple of years. Simple. I just put in $5 to $7 billion for my expenses for when it comes to the bottom line. And then I just run my numbers after that. And so that's how I run my base case model, pretty straightforward. And that's why I come up with the numbers I do. So we'll see. So my price target, actually, I know somebody had asked this before. Price target for end of this month, based off of Q2 numbers, I actually had it at 761. So we'll see how close we come in. Now, technically, Q2 ended the end of June. So I would have had 761 at the end of June. And let's see actually how close I was. Prices were there end of June. End of June, we had 673. That was $100 off, but we're getting pretty close to it right now. So I may be right sometimes, but sometimes I'm way off. That's why I say do not trade based upon what I say, because I can totally be wrong. Let me see. Q2, yeah, and then Q3. So for end of this year, my price target currently is 1066 for the end of this year. Now, again, there's a lot that goes into that, because with the macro environment, who knows what's going to happen? But based off of the information I have right now, I do have us pushing over 1,000. My price target has come down significantly since the beginning of the year. I started off the year like I think 1,700. So I've definitely brought it down. So I am a Tesla bull, but I've got to be realistic. And so unless we do happen to have that, fourth quarter explosion with the stock price, with the macro environment, and us just taking off and the Fed going on a U-turn, if that happens, then heck, I might have been right all along, and maybe we do end up going right past and going to all-time highs again. So I would love to go to all-time highs again by the end of the year. We'll see. Either way, we're going to have that split. And I will, once we do get the official announcement that the split has been confirmed, I will update all of my price targets to split adjusted. Let me see. Thanks, Kevin. Have a great weekend. Let me see. But yeah, you know what? I think, Dean, I think that's totally possible. I think 10,000 by the end of currently right now, prior to split, I have it at 11,196. So and for me, again, I don't put a lot of energy into it because I mean, energy revenue. So I don't put a lot of energy revenue into it. I don't put a lot of FSD, no robo taxis. For me, I base my numbers off of what I actually know for concrete numbers. So it's mostly EVs. When it comes to robo taxis, you can kind of take, like Uber numbers and what taxis bring in for revenue, and take a look at those numbers and kind of put them together and figure that out. And I know Kathy Wood has run that in her model. So people have done it. I don't know. I mean, I think we're going to be getting into a time where we don't even know how to price this revenue. Like, you go back to the 90s, how do you price what kind of revenue the internet could bring in? I think that's what robo-taxis are going to end up being, because it's not like Tesla's going to be only one out there with the robo-taxis. Obviously, we know many other companies are working on it. Some companies, Cruise, Waymo, they do have them in geo-fenced areas. So because they have them in these geo-fenced areas, we can kind of get numbers based off of those, what we think revenue might be in the future. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm actually curious, is Tesla going to come up with this robo-taxi in 2024 and do it in a manner where they're going to have geo-fenced areas? I know they're not working on that. I know that's not what's on their radar right now, but maybe that is what they're truly going to do. Because I think for me, when it comes to actual acceptance of robo-taxis, you think about many people, they don't like change. They don't like new things. A lot of people are scared of technology. I'm sure many of you out there have parents or grandparents, or maybe even yourselves, were afraid to go and get a cell phone. I know my parents themselves took a long time to get a smartphone. They had some flip phones and things like that, but getting a smartphone took them a while. Some people are just afraid of technology. And when it comes to a vehicle driving you around, that could be scary for a lot of people. And so it's going to be a lot of battles, I know we're going to see, when it comes to regulations behind it. It'll sit in government for a while. But by having these geofenced robo-taxis like the Waymos and the Cruise, that will end up helping people get more comfortable with robo-taxis. That will be the gateway to it actually happening. And when enough people start talking about it and people start to realize that, yes, a robo-taxi and a machine driving you is safer than humans driving themselves, that's when we're going to start to really see the regulations coming out to allow Tesla to be able to have robo-taxis and FSD truly on the roads. Yes, did everybody vote? If you guys have not voted, definitely hop over to Tesla. They put out, you should have gotten an email about it. If not, I can definitely share the link with you guys at some point. I don't know if I can do it here. I've never tried, but yeah, if you guys haven't voted, definitely go out and vote. Personally, I voted based on whatever Tesla management recommendations were, because I trust their management. So I just went based on their recommendations. But definitely feel free to vote. I mean, is there anybody on here right now who thinks they want to vote against the 3-for-1? I'm not going to hold it against you at all. I mean, everybody has their own thoughts on it, but I would definitely love to hear your feedback as to whether you think a 3-to-1 split should or should not happen. Personally, I think it should. Obviously, I've mentioned that many a time, and I think it's good for the entire company. But some people do think that it shouldn't split, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that. Now, my thoughts on this are based on current stock price and trajectory. If we split the stock now, we'll be like 250-ish. I can't even do math in my head. My goodness. Let me see. Where's my calculator? 750 divided by 3. So yeah, $250 would be the stock price basically right now if we split today. And so where do you go to vote? Tim, there's a link, and I honestly, because this is my first time, I haven't learned how to do any extras when it comes to live stream. So if anybody has the link, share it with Tim. Tim, you should have gotten an email if you're a shareholder. You should have gotten, actually, through your broker, they should have sent you a link to go to it to be able to vote. So check your emails for that from your broker. If not, check within your broker, because you may have gotten news about it from the company itself. If not, I will put it in. I'll put it in my description for tomorrow's video. I'll throw it down in there for you guys. Yeah, Danny, I was looking for a bigger split too. Initially, I thought it was going to be a 5-to-1. And then, as we got closer and the stock price kept going up, I'm like, a 10-to-1 or a 21 would have been a lot more enticing. I do want to try to learn options. And even at 250, it's still going to be tight for me to play options on it. So I was hoping that we would come closer to $100 per share. If we hit this massive recession and the stock market crashes, maybe we will be at our $100. Who knows? But I would have liked something a little bit bigger, but I think they were trying to be conservative. Elon, around that same time was saying he has a really bad feeling about, the economy going forward. So maybe they decided to do 3-to-1 because he was anticipating a massive pullback in the stock market. So again, who knows? Elon is not always right. He's right about a lot of things, but not always right. He's human, we think. We're not sure, but seems like he is. He's making babies, so that means he's got to be at least some part human. Lots of babies. So yeah, that's awesome. And how many? You know what? Speaking of babies that are out there, how many kids do you guys have? Because Elon's out here doing his part, thinking that we're going to be crashing. I have one child. I have no problems having more. For me, my mind was always, financially. I would like to have more kids, but I wanted to also get this wealth built up. And so for me, I'm kind of open to it. My great-grandfather, he was raised, we think, we're not sure entirely. We believe he was raised in Poland, and he ended up marrying and had 12 kids over in Poland. Changed his last name to what we have now because it was easier to get out of Europe and come to America. And he came to America in the early 1900s. So when he came over in the early 1900s, they changed the last name because even though there weren't wars going on, it was just easier to get out of Europe with a German last name. And of course, back then we didn't have technology, so you could just change your name and nobody would know. And so he ended up coming over to the US. And I don't know if his first wife passed away or what happened, but he came over to the US and ended up marrying, and he was 60 years old and ended up marrying an 18-year-old and had another 12 children with her. So, I've got somewhere along the way 24 cousins of some sort out there. And so all these 12 kids, and I was like, he was a banker, and so he had wealth that he was able to have these kids with. So for me, I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's going to happen with me. Maybe I'll build up my wealth and I'll go out there and I'll find someone and I'll have multitude of children to help the population grow in the future. Dean's got a cat. I can't even have a pet where I live yet. So I'm really looking forward to getting my own place. My kid is like, when you get your own place, you've got to get a dog. And I'm like, yes, I'm definitely looking forward to getting a dog. I will have a dog when I get my own place. Tim, 45 kids? Come on, man. I mean, I wouldn't doubt, what's out there. I mean, who knows? I may have illegitimate children that I'm not sure about. I would hope that they would have let me know if I had children with them. But I mean, if that's true, Tim, awesome. Good for you for having those 45 and helping the population out. Let me see. Your kids can hear you. Your kids can hear me. I'm sorry. Was I too loud? Was I saying anything that I shouldn't be saying? I try to be pretty PC on here, so I apologize if I say anything that's inappropriate. So let me see. Let me see. Rolling a Cybertruck, and then you can wait for the cyber van. That'd be awesome. I wonder, ironically, that news that Elon was coming out with the cyber van came right after we found out that he had 2 more kids. So I'm like, I wonder if he's coming out with the Robovan so he could fit all of his kids in it. I try to be Dean, and honestly, like these live streams are good because I can be a little bit more myself. And I try to always be myself, even in my other videos. But yeah, there's another side of me that I can't totally be on here. And it's not that I'm like any evil or wrong or anything, but I call it inapprotim because I'm slightly inappropriate. It's more like dirty dad jokes and things like that. But that's just how I roll on the side. So when I'm starting to travel the country and I get to meet you guys in person, you'll get to see that other side of me that I cannot put out here because YouTube and the algorithms would not like it so much. Oracle investing after hours. Actually, let's see where Tesla's at right now, because I will get going in a minute because we're pushing that hour mark. So 771, we're still pushing for Tesla after hours. This is going to be awesome. What do you guys think we're going to open at Monday? Do you think we're going to open over 770? Think we're going to be pushing 775? I am not into karate. My old roommate is black belt. I'm not even sure how many stripes he's got, but yeah, he had his own karate studio for a while. I would have loved to do karate as a kid, like the Karate Kid, but I never got into it. My parents didn't have a lot of money as we were growing up, so I played baseball. That's where I put all of my efforts was into baseball. It'll go all the way up. Thanks, Dean. My medals, yes. Oh, we're here. Yeah, there they are. It's a mirrored camera. So those medals, those are my Spartan races. I don't know if you guys have heard of Spartans, and those it's where the headbands come from also. And those headbands for Tough Mudders, and then Spartan races, obstacle course races, and they ranged anywhere from 3 miles up to my longest one was the 24-hour of 37 miles. Those were awesome times. The long ones I did New Jersey, and I did Killington. Killington was actually probably the hardest one. Iceland and Sweden were the most memorable, but the difference was with Killington is I had to do it in 16 hours versus 24 hours. So that was intense. And the elevation gain was the same as climbing Mount Everest. So that was nuts. And I got to tell you, and I had my watch on me the whole time. It told me I burned 22,000 calories in that time frame. So I ate like a champ for days. It was amazing. Yeah, yeah. Iceland. Yeah, I ran Iceland twice. Twice. That was awesome. I retired after my Sweden race, but I'm probably going to get back out there and run some more races, just because I love them and it's a lot of good times. That's awesome, Dean. I love your sense of humor. Not even enough shape to be an agile investor. My best friend, he grew up being horribly uncoordinated. He's a computer programmer, and does work with computers. So that's just I don't mean to stereotype that because I know a lot of people are not like that when they're programming, but that's who he is. But he's been working on his agility, and I'm working on it. So there's always hope for you, Dean. You can always get there. Let me see. Yeah, we were talking about that before, and Farzad himself thinks that this might just be a bargaining chip. He may be, threatening to back out of the deal, and um, and maybe Twitter's going to come back and be like, you know what, it would have been better for us for you to buy it, and we really want you to buy it, so let's renegotiate. That might end up happening. I don't know. With Elon knowing the information he now knows about the Twitter in itself, and when it comes to all the bots, I'm wondering if maybe they realize it's going to be way too much work for them to actually fix Twitter. So I don't know if Elon's going to tell us. I don't know what's going to actually transpire from this. But if we do hear, I think Elon's going to still do something. This seemed to be very important to him. So if he doesn't end up buying Twitter, he'll probably create his own platform. And honestly, creating his own platform might be easier because he could just hire a team to go and do it, and he won't have to focus on it as much. So I really don't know where it comes to that. But if he opens up, if he does end up creating a new platform, would you guys end up going onto it? I mean, I would, because I like the community that he has that's around him, and I like just his thought and mentality of having true free speech. I like that. So I think that it'd work for the betterment of everyone to have it. But again, I don't know how much focus he would have in it. So let's put it this way: if he ends up doing his own version of it and runs it like he runs, maybe SpaceX and basically any other company that he's got. If he does it like the Boring Company and Neuralink, I think if he does it in that manner, it's fine because he's not even really present there. He said it himself. The company basically runs itself. He just owns it. So if he does it the same way, I think that would be totally fine. But if he's going to be focusing on it like a lot of people thought he was, then I would not be a fan of that. Yeah, and same. That's I think I would go there, and I'm sure he'd bring. I mean, think about the fact that he has 100 million followers over on Twitter, so I have no doubt a massive amount of them would come over. All right, folks, we have hit the. Oh wait, let me see here. Yes, you'd be required to go on there. All right, I'm going to call it quits. It's been an hour. It's Friday night, and I still go to bed early on Friday nights. But I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I will be putting up videos this weekend. I'm going to be updating all my finances and everything. I put all those over on Patreon as well. So thank you guys all. This is awesome. I will be doing this every Friday evening. Let me know from you guys if this time works for you, or if you guys want to have a different time, because I get home from work around 5:30 ish. So then I wolf down some dinner and then jump on around 6:30. So we'll talk about it later, but 6:30 seemed to work for me, seemed to work for a lot of you guys. If there's another time, let me know, and I'll try to make it whatever time works for you guys. Otherwise, you guys are all awesome. Thank you so much. Steve, backstage, have a great show, and we will see you guys all later.